so excited because on this brand new episode of Vega411, we have a special guest and a friend of mine. He's a singer, a songwriter, a producer, and he is excited to announce that he's working on his follow-up Spanish album. Please welcome Johnny Silvestry. What's going on? Oh my God, Johnny Silvestry is in the building. How you been, Johnny?
I'm very, very
well. Let's give me a good hug. Hugs.
Happy to meet you.
Thank you.
See you again.
Wow, well, see me again. I haven't seen you in like, how long has it been? You said 10 years?
Jesus, who's counting?
I know, it's been so long.
About
I always
10.
been telling you, come. I need to have Johnny on the show. I need to have Johnny on the show. And finally, you are on the show.
Johnny's been patiently waiting
Right.
for this moment, okay?
And guess what? I have a big surprise for you. So, I always, always get my guests some nice gifts. And I know one of your favorite drinks is this one. Can you tell everybody what is this?
This is the Josh Cellars Cabernet Sauvignon. It is my absolute favorite. I've had $6 bottles of wine. I've had $80 bottles of wine. I've had $200 bottles of wine, and this tops them.
Oh, that's why I had to get it, because I was like, in order for us to have this discussion, it's a celebration, because it's your second sophomore Spanish album, so it's a big celebration. We have to pour this. Yes, pour me some.
I should have poured you first. I'm so sorry.
No, it doesn't matter. It's fine. This is good. I don't want to have another hangover like I had recently.
I do.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so compliments to Josh.
I actually got you a present.
You
Hold
got
on.
me one too?
Yes.
No, stop. What did you get? Nobody gets me presents on this show.
got
You're the first.
A little thank you card that you can open up later for having me
Oh
on the
my
show.
God, thank you. Okay, I'll definitely open up maybe after this segment of the show.
This is actually a
Bourgogne?
Bourgogne. I'm butchering this, by the way.
Oh my God.
But it's also a red wine, and I got it on my trip to Paris.
Thank you so much.
enjoy.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to try this later on. All right, let's start talking. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about like the journey, because you've never been on the show. So this is the first time. You started working on music for over like 10 plus years now.
Jesus.
And
18?
the Spanish album that you're having out is not only your first Spanish album. You had a Spanish album in the beginning, which is called
Canciones de Esperanza.
Canciones de Esperanza.
Yeah.
But before you did that, you were singing in choirs. Can you tell a little bit more about the journey of you starting in choirs?
So I grew up singing in church.
Okay.
I've sang background for Donnie McClurkin, for Jesus, what's his name? Another very popular gospel artist who I can't recall. But I used to do choir and then leading worship at church. At the age of 15 or 16, I started recording demos. And I was doing covers of church songs, popular gospel Spanish music. And then at the age of 21, I released my first Spanish album, which was Canciones de Esperanza. But working on the demos and making connections was what led me up to that.
And if you can you talk about how was that album different from this new album that you're coming out with? What are the pros and cons?
I don't think there's any cons. Oh, look at that. I
Isn't
was
that
a
beautiful?
baby.
I know. This was what, 2010? 2010.
Yeah,
And now
13
we're in
years ago.
2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how was the struggles the pros and cons between this one and the new one?
So with this one, first things first, it's a very Christian faith-based album. I grew up in that type of environment, and the songs were all about God and getting through trying times. I feel like the new album is kind of similar, but not so much about God. It's more about overcoming personal experiences, whether it be heartbreak, just difficult relationships. It's a mixture of everything.
And you wanted it to be a little bit different from what you was more Christian based. This one is gonna be a little bit more Latin flavor and some R&B, maybe some reggaeton on it. So it's gonna be more an eclectic. And was that a conscious choice?
Yes, it was. Every album that I've put out, I think aside from this one, this was more like Spanish pop rock, pop ballads, more
Right,
like
right.
a
Yeah.
pop album. With this one, I'm trying to branch out into like different styles. I have bachata, stuff with a little like Indian fusion, also pop rock, you know, digging back
Yes.
into my roots because I love pop music.
Yeah,
Pop
because you
rock is
do
my
a little
go-to.
bit of everything. That's what makes
Yeah.
you like stretch out your artistry from doing different types of music. You have to in this business when you're being a recording artist. You have to do like a little bit of R&B, a little bit pop, so that way it doesn't pigeonhole you in a box.
Yeah.
Which that can also be a struggle from coming from a Christian type background and doing these type of music. The music that you had in the first one.
Yeah.
Was there any struggles doing your first album and trying to like let people see like, I'm an artist, my first album, take me serious? What were people like, for it, not for it? How did that go?
I had a lot of support, you know, in the Latin Christian community. I was traveling and promoting this album in Puerto Rico, Chicago, Ohio, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, you know, the whole tri-state area. And I was touring, promoting this, and I had a great time doing so, but I felt like I wasn't being true to myself. You know, you're living your life and, you know, promoting that God is love, but, you know, I was in the closet. When I was promoting
wow.
this, I was in a 3.5-year relationship with a man, and I knew, like, singing on the altars, I was like, man, if these people knew, you know, that I was in this relationship, they wouldn't even have me singing, you know, at these events. And so I did some soul searching. Word got out that I was with someone, and the doors, you know, some of them started to close. And I was talking to a friend of mine who was a youth pastor, and I told him, you know, about what it was. And he says, listen, you know, you can't put limits on what God is going to do in your life. These doors will close on you, but your music and who you are as an artist, you know, is so much more than just singing, you know, in these churches. You're bound and destined for stadiums and coliseums and world tours. And he's like, you know, these doors may close on you, but something bigger and greater is out
You
there
realize
for
that
you.
you're like, you know what, I can't just let these negative energies take
Yeah.
over. I have to really branch out and do different things. And that's when you started coming up with your follow with your English album, which
And-
we're going to talk about that next. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the English album and how you found your voice after doing Silvestry, the first album. So we'll be right back with more with Silvestry, and we're going to have a good time with these drinks. Can we clink these glasses?
Can you take me to the hottest spot in New York?
Let me see your hands up. Tonight we gonna live it up. Let me see your hands up. Raise a toast to never looking back. Come on, let's set the atmosphere. Let's get it popping up in here. Just know that once you start it, there's no looking back. So throw your hands up in the air. It's time to party. Everybody, everywhere. Just rock your body. Let me see you raise your glass. Yes, never looking back. So throw your hands up in the air. It's time to blow. And you're sorry. You're not sorry. You dare betray me with a kiss. You might as well set my heart on fire. Throw me out into the rain and watch the ashes start to fade. But when color returns and it wins, I hope it shows you a face.
Oh my God! So Silvestry, do you remember the time that when I first met you? It was back in 2014, and I actually was going to see Jennifer Lopez during her AKA album, and I'll plug it, whatever. But I met you. That's when I first met you, and you had your first English album, which was called Opening Up. Yeah. And that's when you was like, oh, I want to give Jen like my album, whatever, and I'm promoting. And I was looking at you, I was like, wait, this guy, he's a solo artist and he's independent, and he did, like, when I looked at the album, I was like, you did this by yourself? Like, it's possible? And I was still trying to like, I was almost at the point like doing my own music. But when I met you, I was like, wait, this guy, I don't know who he is, but he's his own recording artist. He did his own music. He produced it. Like, how? I was so intrigued of like how to do this. I was like really inspired. And when I looked you up, I was like, wow, he's been doing this since 2010. And it took you almost 10 years from your first Spanish album, I better get it right because I'm Spanish. Canciones, how to say it? Canciones de Amor.
Esperanza.
Des Esperanza. So it took you 10 years to do that album and to opening up. Why was it taking you 10 years? Was that like a conscious decision?
No, Canciones de Esperanza came out in 2010.
Okay.
And then Opening Up came out 3 years later, I think in 2013.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like looking. I was like, wait, okay, Opening Up. Okay, I see. It was okay. It was from Opening Up and 3 was like a 10-year span.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so sorry. But those two albums, Opening Up and 3, took 10 years. But when you went from the first album to more a commercialized bass music like pop and R&B and Latin, why the switch from Spanish to English?
So I wanted to, again, like stray away from pursuing like a career in Christian music and start writing down more of the things that I was going through as a person, as a gay person. And so once I discontinued the promotion of Canciones de Esperanza, I took a 2-year break from music and I just started writing differently. It was just, emotions about love and heartbreak and, digging into old traumas. And a producer from Germany had reached out to me. I guess I posted a demo online and he says, hey, I heard your music. I think you're very talented. I would love to send you a few tracks for you to listen to. And if you can write to them and you want to use them, I'd be happy to work with you. And so I told him. He sent me a list of maybe like 3 songs. And the first one that I listened to was actually Puppy Love.
Instrumental it's on YouTube. Love. Check it out on YouTube. And the music video.
And the music was just so freaking beautiful. Like the way he composed his music, I was just in awe. And instantly I started to write to that. And I reached out to the guy and I told him, hey, like your work is really good. Do you have more material that I can look at? And he sent me his whole catalog. And he's like, dude, use what you want.
So you already had, even though you are a songwriter first and a singer, but you was already writing, even without someone coming into your life, hey, I got some demos. But the fact that someone already listened to your voice and your delivery of what you put out into the world, they wanted to offer a helping hand. And that's when some of the tracks that he came up with helped you inspire to make it more expansive and put in your traumas and your life experiences to make an album called Opening Up, which makes sense of why it's called Opening Up, right? Is that the real reason?
Kind of like my way, breaking out of my shell.
So you started working on the third album, which is called 3, but it was also the second English album, right?
The second English album.
So how different was 3 to Opening Up when you came up with 3?
I moved out of New York in 2020.
Okay.
And I packed up my stuff. I left to the Poconos in Pennsylvania.
Okay, a bunch of bears out there?
Yeah, bears, skunks,
You didn't see cocaine bears there?
Cocaine bears.
You gotta see that movie though.
They out there.
Yeah, they are. No, I love the Poconos. It's nice.
It's beautiful. It's very different, from what I'm used to. But moving out there, I took a chance, in life, and I didn't have no connections to a recording studio, to producers. It was during COVID, so everything was shut down. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship, and I knew that I wanted to write and record and get like all of these emotions out, and I had no way of doing so. And so I went online and I invested in some, materials to record. An iPad, a microphone, good headphones, decent headphones.
And just started from scratch.
And I taught myself how to produce music.
But a lot of the songs that, remember we spoke about, a lot of the songs that you had in 3 were already previous released. Like Betray Me With a Kiss.
Yeah.
And a couple of other songs that you had, but then you took those singles and then you started revamping. Was it you not satisfied with the records? Why did you said, okay, these are the songs that are out there, but I'm also going to put them in 3, but change it?
I could be wrong, but I think the only one that I redid for the 3 album was Betray Me with the Kiss.
Which I love that song.
And I loved it. I love that song. But listening to the original that I released as a single, to me it always sounded like a demo version. I always felt like there could be a stronger like bass, a stronger guitar, live drums. I'm a sucker for live drums.
We love a live drum.
And you know, to me, it just sounded like a demo. Do I like the new version more than the original? I can't say that I do. I feel like, you know, I like them both the
What
same.
did everybody else say when they were like, oh, wait, did you change it? Why?
It's
like,
a mixture of both. Like
50,
a lot of
50.
people love the original, but a lot of people like the new one too.
How happy or let's say dissatisfied are you when you worked on 3? Like, what have you learned when you did this album? Because it's still out, it's still running, it's getting the streams. When you sit back and listen to the album, what are the first thoughts that come in your head?
I can't believe that I produced the whole thing myself.
Right.
The whole thing. The
Easy.
musical
You save
arrangements.
money, ladies and gentlemen.
That's one of the things, you know, but the musical arrangements, the recording, the mixing, the mastering, the editing, filming the music videos, editing the music videos myself, like the photography, the whole production.
You do it all. And I like how
yeah.
you have like the great, like the idea, the concept, like the picture is so like top tier. It doesn't look like very low quality. It's high def. Like you really take initiative of your art to put something for the world to see. Like you're really serious about it, and even in the musicality of it. So I think you should be proud that you made a body of work, a 3rd album, because you just popping them out like parts. I was like, damn, I like you on a roll. Like you really, this is what you do in terms of music. Like, what was one of the highlights of the time when you released this album?
Getting to promote it live. I got to do 2 events in Pennsylvania. One of them was the Poconos Latin Fest, and the other one was it's like a cultural fest where they bring like different, you know, cultures. And getting to promote this there as well, and just seeing like the feedback, like people, they love the English music, but when they hear me throw in the Spanish in there too, they're like, oh my God, like he does both.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what wanted to push me into working on this new Spanish album.
Well, we're gonna talk about that new Spanish album because it's been out for already like a month now and it's getting the airways. So I want to talk about that because there's so much that you have to let the fans know about the Spanish album and revealing it. So we'll be right back because Johnny, are you going anywhere?
Where am I going?
No, you stay here. We still got more.
Some wine.
We still got. We'll be right back because we're gonna talk about the Spanish album and more with Johnny Silvestry
Yes.
on Vega411.